The Old West is an era filled with legendary figures who have made their names in history through their skill, courage, and lethal mastery of firearms. From lawmakers to outlaws, these gunslingers epitomize the essence of the Wild West. In this video, we delve into the history to uncover 10 of the deadliest gunslingers who have left an indelible mark on the untouched frontiers of the Old West. Prepare yourself for a journey through the lives of these infamous characters whose stories continue to be intriguing and intriguing to this day. John Wesley Hardin. John Wesley Hardin, born 1853 in Texas, was the son of James Gibson Gipp Hardin and Mary Elizabeth Dixon. His father, Hardin Sr., was a Methodist preacher who settled with his family in Trinity County, Texas in 1859. At the start of the Civil War, John Wesley attempted to join the Confederate Army, but was thwarted by the presence of Confederate soldiers across Texas. In November 1868, at the age of 15, he was confronted by a former slave who allegedly attacked him with a stick. In self-defense, Hardin shoots the man to death. Fearing consequences from Union soldiers, John Wesley's father advised him to hide. However, his location was eventually discovered, leading to an encounter with 3 Union soldiers sent to capture him. To escape, Hardin kills the soldiers and is forced to flee his home. He sought refuge with the outlaw Frank Polk in Navarro County until Polk was arrested for murder. Hardin then drifts from place to place, leaving traces of bodies. During this period, Hardin was involved in a number of violent incidents. In one case, he shot a man in the eye during a bet in Pisa. He also killed a black man in Leon County, Texas. In 1870, while playing a game of cards with Benjamin Bradley in Hill County, Hardin was threatened with a knife by Bradley. Initially deciding to leave, Hardin then confronts Bradley, which leads to Bradley firing a shot at Hardin and missing. In response, Hardin quickly fires one shot to Bradley's head and another to his chest, killing him. In 1871, Hardin was arrested for the murder of Laban John Hoffman, Marshal of Waco City, Texas. However, he escaped by taking the life of another police officer, Jim Smalley. Hardin's murder trail continues, leading to a series of events over the next 3 years. During this time, Hardin was eventually arrested by the Texas Rangers and subsequently sentenced to 25 years in prison at the Texas State Prison in Huntsville. While serving his sentence, Hardin devoted himself to the study of religion and law. After completing 17 years behind bars, he was released from prison. After regaining his freedom, Hardin earned a law degree and even practiced as a lawman. On August 19, 1895, John Selman shot Hardin in the back of the head, killing him while playing dice in El Paso, Texas. During his relatively short life, John Wesley Hardin is said to have killed no less than 42 people. Porter Rockwell. Orrin Porter Rockwell emerged as a figure during the Wild West era in American history. Holding his position as a lawman in the Utah Territory, he was nicknamed Old Port and the Destroying Angel of Mormondom. Notably, Rockwell was both a bodyguard and a close companion to Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints movement. After Smith's unfortunate death in 1844, Rockwell assumed the role of bodyguard for Brigham Young, Smith's successor. In this capacity, he accompanied Young and his fellow members to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on their journey to the Salt Lake Valley, now within the boundaries of Utah. Legend has it that Porter Rockwell killed over 100 outlaws. The verifiable death toll caused by him is around 36, so he deserves to be on this list. Wild Bill Hickok. James Butler Hickok, renowned as one of the Old West's most legendary gunmen. He's a gunfighter, gambler, performer, and peace officer. Born on May 27, 1837, in Illinois to William Alonzo and Polly Butler Hickok. From a young age, Hickok showed exceptional marksmanship skills and earned a good reputation in his homeland. In 1858, he assumed the post of sheriff in the town of Monticello. He then joined the Russell, Waddell, and Majors Cargo Company, which took the ownership of Pony Express. In 1865, Hickok became embroiled in a series of disputes with David Tutt, which culminated in a gunfight. Demonstrating his formidable shooting ability, Hickok successfully knocked out Tutt with a single bullet, accurately firing from a distance of 75 yards. Hickok was later acquitted on grounds of self-defense. On August 2, 1876, while playing five-card poker in Deadwood, South Dakota, Hickok became the victim of a fatal shot fired by Jack McCall. McCall claimed the action was a form of retaliation for an offensive behavior. Notably, at the time of his death, Hickok was said to have held a pair of aces and eights, a combination forever known as the Hand of the Dead. According to Joseph G. Rosa, Hickok's biographer and Wild Bill's highest authority, Hickok killed 6 men in gunfights. Dallas Studenmeyer. Dallas Studenmeyer, born December 11, 1845, in Bullock County, Alabama, was one of 9 children born to Lewis and Elizabeth Studenmeyer. In 1862, he joined the Union Army, serving in the 45th Army Corps of Alabama. During that time, he was wounded several times and carried 2 bullets for the rest of his life. During his lifetime, Studenmeyer was involved in more gunfights than many famous contemporaries, including Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, El Fego Baca, Luke Short, Doc Holliday, and John Selman. Notably, he was famous for bringing law and order to one of the most violent towns in the Old West. Studenmeyer is often described as tough and excitable, especially when drinking. After moving to El Paso, Texas to take on the role of sheriff, Studenmeyer quickly encountered 3 men in the famous 4 dead in 5 seconds gunfight. In less than a year, he had gunfighted and killed 6 more men while serving as sheriff, cementing his reputation as one of Texas's most feared lawmen. Studenmeyer got into a feud with the members of the Manning family. The feud came to a tragic end when Studenmeyer and the 3 Manning brothers had a fierce gun battle. Studenmeyer was shot from behind by James Manning, killing him instantly. He is buried at Alleyton Cemetery in Colorado County, Texas. Clay Allison. Robert Clay Allison was born on September 2, 1841, to Jeremiah Scotland Allison, a Texas cattle rancher and Presbyterian minister, and Mariah Ruth Brown Allison. During the Civil War, Allison fought alongside Captain W.H. Jackson and General Nathan Bedford Forrest, demonstrating his loyalty to the Confederacy. After the war, the Allison family moved to New Mexico. In January of 1874, an incident occurred involving Allison and his outlaw friend, Chunk Colbert. The two participated in a horse race and then dined at Clifton House in Colfax County. However, tensions arise between them, leading to a sudden act of aggression. Colbert drew his pistol with the intention of harming Allison, but an accidental collision with the table interrupted his movement. Reacting quickly, Allison defended himself by shooting Colbert in the head. Later, when asked about his decision to have dinner with a man with bad intentions, Allison wittily replied, "I wouldn't want to send a man to hell on an empty stomach." In the years that followed, Allison was accused of participating in numerous gunfights that resulted in the deaths of several individuals. In one particularly grisly incident, it is alleged that he decapitated a man and staked a stake on a fence in front of Lambert's Inn, later the St. James Hotel. Unfortunately, Allison's life ended tragically in 1887 when he suffered a serious neck injury after falling from a wagon. Clay Allison was buried at Pecos Cemetery the day after his death, where hundreds of people are said to have attended his funeral. Jim Miller. James Brown Miller, born October 25, 1861 in Van Buren, Arkansas, was the son of Jacob and Cynthia Basham Miller. However, he spent his years growing up in Texas. In 1884, Miller became involved in an argument with John Thomas Coop, his sister's husband, which tragically resulted in Miller shooting Coop in the head. Miller then assumed the role of town sheriff in Pecos and married Sally Clements in 1891. However, Miller feuded with Sheriff George A. Fraser. During a fateful event, Miller encountered Fraser in a pub in Toyah, Texas, where he fatally shot the sheriff. Curiously, Miller's fate took an unexpected turn when a series of mysterious events took place during his trial. Despite the testimonies against him, Miller got away with the crime. By 1900, Miller offered his services as a paid assassin. Over the course of his career, he was responsible for at least 6 documented murders. However, his reign of violence came to a halt when he was arrested following the murder of Alan Bobbitt. In a terrifying turn, an angry mob burst into the prison, arresting Miller along with 2 other inmates and sending them to the gallows, where they suffered their final fate by hanging. Billy the Kid. Henry McCarty, a.k.a. William H. Bonney, was born in 1859 in New York City to Patrick McCarty and Catherine Devine. He started off by being caught stealing food, clothing, and guns in 1875, but he managed to escape and make his way to Arizona. In 1877, he argued with and killed a blacksmith. Billy became famous in the region when he joined the regulators in the Lincoln County War of 1878. He and 2 other regulators were later charged with the murders of 3 men, including Lincoln County Sheriff William J. Brady and one of his deputies. Hunted by law enforcement, the group was eventually disbanded. Billy evaded capture and shot a gambler in a New Mexico saloon. After much trouble with the law, Billy was arrested and sentenced to death. He escapes and shoots down 2 men guarding him. After 3 months, Sheriff Pat Garrett and 2 deputies shot and killed Kidd at Fort Sumner on July 14, 1881. During his short life, Billy the Kid is said to have killed 21 men, 1 a year in his lifetime. However, many historians suggest that Billy killed 9 people, 4 on his own and 5 with the help of others. Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Barry Stapp Earp was born March 19, 1848 in Warren County, Illinois. His father, Nicholas Porter Earp, moved the family to Iowa, where Wyatt spent his adult years. Embarking on a career in law enforcement, Earp gained experience and later moved to Dodge City with his brother. At Dodge City, he took on the role of a marshal and formed a remarkable friendship with John Doc Holliday. The year 1879 saw Earp move to Tombstone along with his brothers Virgil and James. Tensions arose between the Earps and the McLaury and Clanton factions, culminating in the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral in 1881. Tragically, Wyatt's younger brother Morgan falls victim to revenge, forcing Wyatt to embark on a daring pursuit of those responsible for Morgan's death. Team Earp killed Frank Stilwell, Curly Bill, Indian Charlie, and Johnny Barnes during their 2-week trip. In 1888, Earp gave an interview to California historian Hubert Howe Bancroft, in which he claimed to have killed over a dozen stage robbers, murderers, and cattle thieves during his time as a lawman. Tom Horn. Thomas Horn, Jr., born November 21, 1860, was a scout, cowboy, soldier, long-range detective, and Pinkerton agent before moving on to work as a hired killer in Wyoming. Horn is said to have committed 17 murders as a hired gunman during his lifetime. Horn was convicted in 1902 of the murder of 14-year-old Willie Nickel near Iron Mountain, Wyoming. Willie's the son of sheep rancher Kells Nickel, who had been involved in a long-standing feud with his neighbor and rancher, Jim Miller. Horn was sentenced to hang, executed in Cheyenne, Wyoming on November 20, 1903. Tom Horn was buried in Boulder, Colorado at Columbia Cemetery in early December 1903. While in prison, Horn wrote his autobiography, Life of Tom Horn, which was published posthumously in 1904. Several editions were published in the late 20th century, made him famous all over the country. Doc Holliday. John Henry Holliday was a gambler, a tramp, and a gentleman and gunman. He shared a close relationship with Wyatt Earp, and his most notable contribution was in the sequence of events that occurred before and after the famous gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. Doc Holliday is famous for killing more than a dozen men in various gunfights, but research historians have concluded that, contrary to many legends, Holliday killed only 3 men. Doc Holliday claims he almost lost his life a total of 8 times. 4 attempts were made to hang him, and he was shot 6 times. Holliday spent the rest of his life in Colorado. He died of tuberculosis in bed at the Glenwood Hotel at the age of 36. His obituary, which appeared in the Leadville Carbonate Chronicle on November 14, 1887, reads as follows: "There is scarcely one in the country who had acquired greater notoriety than Doc Holliday, who enjoyed the reputation of being one of the most fearless men on the frontier, and whose devotion to his friends in the climax of the fiercest ordeal was inextinguishable. It was this, more than any other faculty, that secured for him the reverence of a large circle who was prepared on the shortest notice to rally to his relief.